There is no question it is one of the best weeks of the year on the golf calendar, the first true marquee event of the season, the Players' Championship, TPC Sawgrass, the best field of the year on a course that is designed for loads and loads of drama, mama. Speaking of drama, Geoff Ulrich, who witnessed Reed bullying me after I picked Scottie Scheffler to win the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Fowler, Geoff, showing his true colors this weekend, did he not?
Absolutely. I mean, who was Reed on? Tom Hoagie? I can't remember.
Yeah.
But look, you made a great call. Look, I'll give Emerson some chops. He really made himself the third trio of the golf gurus this week by telling us on Saturday that Scottie Scheffler was going to make a run for this. And not only did he make a run, but he grinded out his second win in 3 starts. Scottie Scheffler on a nice run. So is Emerson Lotz.
I love it, baby. Let's go. Undefeated in the past week. But let's price check here for the players at TPC Sawgrass. So a fat milli maker available on DraftKings, by the way. $1 million going to first place. You get a ticket to Tournament of Champions if you win this big event. I love this. This is one of the best weeks in golf. Again, the weather looks awful, though, Geoff. It looks really wet, like 80% chance of rain there in Ponte Vedra Beach, at least like Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Is that going to, just real quick before we dive into some of the prices, is that going to factor into who you are targeting, the kind of golfer you're going to target?
A little bit. I think whenever you get bad weather, especially in an event like this, and on a course like the Players, I mean, the Players itself is a shorter par 72, so it really brings a lot of like the shorter hitters in. I mean, anyone can win this event, and we've seen that play out. Webb Simpson, guys like Jim Furyk finishing second at the age of 48 or whatever. People can win this without having like the big bomber length or anything. So when you add in bad weather, that can sometimes just throw more variables in. So I think that it's just an event where you don't necessarily need to cross off as many people. It definitely makes it harder for DFS in that respect. But you can still stack the top players and just look to differentiate a little bit more down below, because I think that a few more names than usual will be in the mix this week. Stress short games, putting even more than usual. Well,
we got 5 dudes with a price tag of at least 10 grand. So which one are you going to roster among that handful?
I think there's 2, and I'm going to make, for each tier we'll go like the chalkier pick and maybe like someone you can differentiate with. I think Viktor Hovland's going to be super popular this week, and I think he makes a ton of sense. I mean, it's bad weather, but no one's really just striking it tee to green better than Viktor Hovland. So you worry a little bit around the green, and we saw it at the API down the stretch where, he just sometimes just won't get it close enough, and he's just not very good, like 8 feet in with the putter. But tee to green in a hurricane, I mean, there's really nobody with ball striking it that I trust more than Viktor Hovland. I think at 10-1, he's going to be popular, but it's for very good reason. Obviously, people have just seen him play. I really think Jon Rahm, just paying up for Jon Rahm at 11-1, might be the way to go, especially in GPPs. I'm sure Rahm will still have ownership, but the dude gained over 6 strokes on approach at the API last week. If he picks up the around the green game where the putter gets hot at all, I mean, he's going to be there. So maybe Jon Rahm isn't quite sharp enough to grab a win, but it could happen at any time with this guy. Even at 90% capacity, Jon Rahm is going to be in contention. So I really feel like Rahm maybe just going a little bit more under the radar here than people realize because of how good he's been striking it. It just hasn't quite clicked altogether. So this is going to be my 2 picks above 10K.
Okay. He had that 2-putt from 10 inches. That was like Thursday. That went viral. That was rough. Also had an epic final round meltdown here in 2019.
Yeah, and those 2 things I think stick with people, right? I mean, we've got, people might just say, well, Rory's won here before. He played well last week. Let's go to Rory. Hovland's a lot cheaper. Morikawa is a dude. I'm not sure what the ownership will be on Jon Rahm yet. We're early in the week. We have to see how things shake out. But if it's going to be even like second or third, I think he's going to be. I think he would be my play for if you're throwing in a couple big lineups into the big milli maker this week.
Yeah, my only cause for concern too with Hovland is that he missed the cut in his only Players appearance last year. But he had that ridiculous span where he had 3 wins and a 5-start span. I think that ended in January here. Let's go to the next little tier, 9,000 to 10 grand here. So in the 9K range.
So we saw it last year with Bryson DeChambeau when he won the Arnold Palmer Invitation, was playing well. Came right into the Players, rolled into the Players, and just about won again. This Florida swing, the golf it's different courses, but the golf is the same in a lot of respects. It's tough. there's water everywhere. Tee to green games get stressed. And Scotty Scheffler at 9,200, I mean, I'm just not sure why you wouldn't roll him for one more week. Okay, he doesn't have a ton of experience playing the players. We get that, but experience only matters so much with these young players. It's the confidence and the form with these dudes. They all have top-end games, and right now Scheffler is absolutely firing in all regards. Just seeing him grind over the weekend at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, it would be hard for me, especially with like the tougher conditions likely in play, to see Scotty Scheffler not grind his way into like a top 10 finish again. So I think you just don't overthink that, and I think you roster Scotty Scheffler, and I do think that's going to be the popular move. I don't think that the field is necessarily going to be out on Scotty Scheffler this week just because he's won last week. I think, especially with the precedence with Bryson from last year, most people won't overthink this spot. So if you're looking for GPPs and a player to get on who might differentiate a little bit, I do think it's Xander Schauffele, who has played pretty nicely this year. I mean, lots of top finishes. Look, people forget he was T2 at this event, a few years back. Schauffele can grind with the best of them around the green too. He's certainly got a world-class short game. 9,700, you look at the price ranges here. We've got Spieth down there, Scheffler, even Hideki is cheaper now than Xander Schauffele. You're probably going to get, an ownership break just by paying up for Xander Schauffele. So that's one strategy I'd be looking at for GPPs. Again, those big fields, you're looking to differentiate a little bit, get a little bit low ownership on a guy with a lot of upside. Xander's that guy for me. Like,
it's not officially a major championship. We all know that, but this feels like it. Then you have like 47 of the top 50 in the world. This is typically the strongest field on tour, like all year long. And Scheffler's really hung in there. He's really held up in major championships. Although another guy, Geoff, who missed the cut in his first appearance here last year. $7,500 to $9K. So the field here, much, much bigger, a lot more options. Where do you want to go?
Yeah, so when you're dipping down below 9K, I mean, I think that a couple players just in that high 8K range are really going to stick out to people. I think Daniel Berger, Brooks Koepka, both guys we've seen on this Florida swing. I mean, I love the upside with Daniel. I think Daniel Berger might be the most underrated player in golf right now. I mean, you look at Daniel Berger at 8,800 and a player I just talked about in Xander Schauffele. What is the difference between these two right now? I would actually almost give the slight edge to Berger. If it wasn't for a little back injury, we could be talking about a player who's just been like ripping off top fives. If he closes out that Honda win, maybe he doesn't get caught in that horrible monsoon or whatever. This could be a completely different situation with the salaries flipped. So again, it's not a situation that I think a lot of people will miss, and I expect Berger to garner some ownership. But man, I'd have no problem eating some chalk there with Daniel Berger this week, because I think he's way underpriced, and I think he's a player who's very capable of winning a big event. I think Brooks Koepka, with his good play in Florida in his last start, will garner some ownership too. But if you're really looking for like a lower owned play, I think you've got to kind of look down the list. And I think going to a guy like a Mark Leishman at 7,500, who shot like $1 million over par to end the Arnold Palmer Invitational last week. And that's tough, we get it, but Leishman was pretty solid all year. So, if you're writing him off based on one round, you kind of really don't have like that legitimate an argument. And he's really cheap. He's a quality player. He's only 7,500. And I think Leishman is the type of player that I'd want to target in this range for big field GPPs, just from the fact that he's probably going to be way under-owned compared to what his salary is and his overall output has been in these big events long term. I just think there's something about Sawgrass though that doesn't sit well with him, because he's missed the cut like 3 out of his past 4 appearances here, and then the one time he did make it to Saturday, he was T63, bro. So it's a fair point, but the thing about Sawgrass is, you look down the list, most players here have like a couple bad miscuts. And some players have more bad miscuts than others, but when you look at Mark Leishman's short-term and long-term form, he's really picked it up since that kind of disastrous like 2020 season he's had. The approach game has been clicking more. Leishman's a player who can get hot with the putter too. So has Sawgrass clicked with him? No. Would I be betting him to win in the outright market? Probably not. But I think again, you've got to consider all the factors for daily fantasy here. Yes. What's his ownership going to be? Are people going to be on him? And is his price at a discount? I think all things factor to yes there. So Leishman is a player I wouldn't mind sprinkling in for GPPs. And it's unfortunate we don't have Reed here, because he is our grass expert. But real talk, it is something to consider with these guys too. And he's an above average putter on Bermuda. Just
These are weird things if you want to get into the nuts and bolts. I mean,
Weird times.
it really is. What a weird time to be alive. Value plays. Who do you like right now early in the week?
So when you dip under 7,500, I mean, again, you've got to consider that this is, basically what we're getting is a major championship-like field. So some names are going to just stick out. I mean, just completely crazy salaries on guys. Taylor Gooch is someone I'm expecting players to just gravitate towards. I mean, you look at his odds, he's going off around 60 to 1. He's only 7,200 on DraftKings this week. I mean, it's a player who was, a top 10 finish at the Players. He's been all over leaderboards with the win at the RSM, and then obviously even into 2022, he's going to stick out like a sore thumb. I think my guy Russell Henley, people will gravitate towards him a little bit as well, but not as much because people I think don't trust Henley as much. Gooch is going to be a major chalk this week. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Again, we got to talk about strategy a little bit. If you're trying to avoid the Taylor Gooch chalk, where are you going to go? I mean, there's some interesting Europeans in this. Lee Westwood was second in this event last year. Russell Knox is a player who's gained over 3 strokes on approach in 4 straight starts now. He had that T7 to start the year at the Sony Open. I really like going to Russell Knox. If the conditions are bad, his ball striking is just going to take more precedent. And, again, I'll end this by going to another couple dudes at 7K. Chris Kirk, 2 top 10s in a row now. He's going to be chalk, but he's way, way undervalued at 7K. And the guy I love the most, Alex Noren, loves playing in bad weather. He's got that Euro thing, a lot of his wins. He's won the Scottish Open. He's won over in France on a really tough golf course. Alex Noren is playing really good golf right now at 7K. And if there's a dark horse winner to come from 100 to 1 or bigger, it's going to be him this week.
Totally forgot about Gooch closing with the 67 here last year to sneak into the to a top 5 finish.
Very sneaky.
Too.
Very, very sneaky.
Yeah. I don't know. It concerns me, though, when Reed's high on Gooch. So that's something to keep in mind. We have 90 seconds to go. Favorite DFS pick for the Players' Championship. What do you think?
I mean, this is just a field. There's just so many people we could talk about. I mentioned those guys at 7K. Like, there's such good value down there with guys like Kirk and Gooch, if that's your thing. He's not really my thing this week. But I'm gonna go with Daniel Berger at 8,800. Again, I just can't not mention how underpriced I think he is. He's less expensive than Will Zalatoris. He's less expensive than Jordan Spieth, who you want to talk about bad track records at TPC Sawgrass. Jordan Spieth is like the leader in the clubhouse there. So I think Berger is way undervalued at 8,800, and I think among the top group, that is where I would go, and that is where I would be willing to build around, even if it means eating 20% ownership in big fields this week.
And Jeff, I'm looking here at his 4 career PGA Tour titles. They've all come at places that kind of emphasize driving accuracy and not so much distance, which you mentioned. This is one of the shorter par 72s on tour, and pair of top 10s at TPC Sawgrass in his past 5 starts. That's good. That's very good.
He likes Florida, man. I mean, he's a Florida guy, grew up around PGA National, which has a lot of similarities to TPC Sawgrass. And like I said, you look at what Daniel Berger does well. One of the best approach games, one of the most consistent approach games, iron players in the game. He's probably top 5 right now. That will eventually spell out to big wins.